No, that's fine.
My brother Shadeur told me he wanted a new piece, a chain that nobody had, and he wanted the legendary charm. So we designed something for him. Hopefully he's gonna like it. He hasn't seen it yet.
You need to look at it.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. As you come in, make sure you like the video. If it's on you to hit the Cash App, hit the Cash App. Now, why did I play the videos that I played? And why do I have this picture up here? Why am I using this? Why am I doing this? Well, because I need to set the stage. And I've been hearing a whole lot of conversation, I'm seeing people talking about racism and Negro wake up call, and they want to humble you, and they don't like a confident black man. I've even seen some people talk about buck breaking. So before we get too far, let's get some things clear. Number one, the first pick in the draft was a black quarterback. I repeat, the very first pick in this year's draft was a black quarterback. All right? That's number one. Number two, just because you have a very stellar and great stats in college does not mean that you are going to be picked at the top of the NFL draft. As a matter of fact, in this very draft, the running back from Arizona State, Scatterbull, that had the game of his life in the college football playoff versus Texas, that was an AP All-American. He was a fourth round pick. Yes, an All-American running back that had a huge, great game against Texas in the college football playoff didn't get drafted until the fourth round. Why? Because just because you ball out in college, that does not mean that you are going to be a top pick in the NFL draft. And when people say Shadeur Sanders slid, my question to you is this: did he slide, or did you buy into hype? Now, when I say hype, I'm not saying that he's not a good player. I'm not saying that he didn't ball out. I'm not saying that he's not an NFL quarterback. I'm not saying that at all. When I talk about hype, we got to be honest about this. Colorado was a very huge and popular program for the past 2 years. Everybody was watching Colorado for the past 2 years. Everybody. Everybody's been watching Colorado. The ratings have been through the roof. Colorado is a cultural phenomenon. Everybody from Lil Wayne to 2 Chainz, Master P, every rapper you can think of, all the entertainers, all former players have been down to Colorado. The game's been sold out. The ratings through the roof. And yes, they had a very good season last season. And so what happened was, because of the last name Sanders, because of who they were and how they looked doing what they were doing, and because of where they were doing it at, it was a huge story. Like, we have to be honest, Colorado, for lack of a better terms, was the black people's version, the closest thing black people would get to like a Power 5 dominant program, right? Like, Colorado's on an HBCU, but it was a black version of a Power 5 program, as close as we are going to get to it. So a lot of us gravitated towards that, and the ratings were through the roof. It was must-see television. And once again, last season they had a good season. And so what happened was, because of all the ratings, because of how many people watched, because of how many people liked the story, a narrative was created around the program and the players. And the consensus online and social media was that Shadeur Sanders was one of the a top quarterback prospect. That's what we saw a lot on sports talk television. That's what we saw a lot on social media. But my question to you is, what were you hearing from the NFL circles? Because decision makers in the league know how to get out what they want to get out. Like, we all knew, it wasn't a secret that Cam Ward was going to be the first pick in the draft. He was going to be the first quarterback taken. That wasn't a mystery. Everybody knew Cam Ward is getting picked number 1 in the draft. Cam Ward is going to be the first pick in the draft. That was coming from inside of the league. Also, what you heard from the league: insiders, decision makers, people actually plugged into organizations. You heard a lot of people saying, hey, somebody's probably going to take a chance on Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart might be the second quarterback taken. He might leapfrog Shadeur. That's what you heard from the league, not from social media, not from sports talk commentators, from the league. What evaluation were you hearing from the league about Shadeur Sanders? Did you hear any league insiders saying, oh, Shadeur Sanders, he's a top 5 pick? Oh, Shadeur Sanders, he's going to go here. He's definitely going to go in the first round. He's going to go there. You heard commentators saying this. You heard people on ESPN and all these other networks saying this. But what NFL insiders did you hear saying Shadeur Sanders is going to be a top pick? Because once again, NFL insiders told us Cam Ward was going to be the first quarterback taken. He's probably going to go number 1 overall. That's what you heard from the league. You heard from the league that somebody's going to move up and take Jackson Dart. You heard from the league that Jackson Dart might leapfrog Shadeur Sanders. Who in the league, what tea leaves were dropped off from the league saying that Shadeur Sanders was a top quarterback prospect? The fact of the matter is, you never heard anybody saying from the league that they viewed Shadeur Sanders as a top first-round pick in the NFL. You didn't hear that coming from the league. You heard that from commentators and spectators. And what I believe happened is, because Colorado and the whole team, they got views, they drove the needle, they drove ratings, they were fun to watch. You either wanted to watch the root against them or to root for them. It was fun. The whole culture was behind them. All the celebrities, all the rappers, Colorado. A lot of people got swept up into that. And so what happened was, because people liked the story of Colorado, because people liked the hype of Colorado, because people liked the fun of Colorado, they started to make proclamations about Shadeur's NFL prospects that were not based on anything that they were hearing from inside the league. I'm going to say that again. Because there were so many people that got swept up and enjoyed the story of Colorado, there were a lot of commentators and talking heads who got caught up in that momentum, and they started making proclamations about Shadeur's prospects in the NFL that were not based on any evaluations from actual decision makers. Because they liked Shadeur, they liked Dion, they liked Colorado, they liked Travis Hunter, they liked the story, they liked the black and the gold. They liked all the celebrities. They started buying into the hype. They started buying into their own hype. That's what happened. They were getting on television, always talking about Colorado, always covering Colorado because it was good for business. It was good for clicks and views. It was good for likes. Then they started talking about how Colorado was this and Shadeur was that, and Travis Hunter was this and that, and all the other stuff. And they started to buy into that and believe that. They created the hype, fed into the hype, and then they bought their own hype. But once again, when did you hear insiders inside of the league saying, oh, this is a top 10 prospect. This is an absolute first round pick. This is a top 3 quarter. You didn't hear that coming from the league. And the reason why I say people got swept up in the hype that they created is because when you would listen to people talk, and I'm talking about the fans, the supporters, like the Mel Kypers of the world, they would tell you how they felt about Shadeur Sanders. They would tell you. And they would just skip over what their brain is telling them and go back into, oh, but it's such a fun story. So I'm going to play for you what Mel Kyper said about Shadeur Sanders and how he just leaped over. When you like something, when you support something, a lot of times you will leap over logic. And that's what we saw Mel Kyper do. I'm going to go ahead and play it for you.
Certainly more than good enough. I don't see, outside of not being have the rocket arm and the 4.6 speed and the big frame, the 6'3", 230-pound frame, what is he lacking? Somebody's going to have to explain that one to me.
Did you hear what Mel Kyper just said? I'm going to play it again. See if you catch it.
Certainly more than good enough. I don't see, outside of not being have the rocket arm and the 4.6 speed and the big frame, the 6'3", 230-pound frame, what is he lacking? Somebody's going to have to explain that one to me.
Do you hear? Did you hear what he just said? He said, and mind you, this is a supporter. He said, outside of not having the big arm, not having the big frame, and not having the speed, what is missing? That's what he just said. He just said, outside of not having the big frame, outside of not having the big arm, outside of not having speed, what is he missing? You play it one more time.
Certainly more than good enough. I don't see, outside of not being have the rocket arm and the 4.6 speed and the big frame, the 6'3", 230-pound frame, what is he lacking? Somebody's going to have to explain that one to me.
I mean, it's right there. And he's like, you see how he just breezed over that? Because he's caught up in the momentum. He said, outside of not being big enough, outside of not being fast enough, outside of not having a strong enough arm, what's he missing? That would be like if I go to my homegirl and I say, hey, put my homeboy on with your homegirl. And she say, well, tell me about him. And I say, well, outside of not being faithful, outside of not paying bills, outside of being broke, he a good guy. She be like, what? That's how Mel Kyper sounded. I'm going to play it one more time.
Certainly more than good enough. I don't see, outside of not being have the rocket arm and the 4.6 speed and the big frame, the 6'3", 230-pound frame, what is he lacking? Somebody's going to have to explain that one to me.
He just said, he's describing a quarterback, and he's saying outside of the quarterback not being strong, not being big, and not being fast, what is he missing? Once again, Mel Kyper is a supporter, and he's saying this. That would be like, once again, if I go to you, I go to one of my homies, and I say, look, man, I know this woman. She's looking for a man. You should holler at her. He say, well, tell me about her. And I say, well, She's promiscuous. She got 3 kids by 3 different men. She got a disrespectful potty mouth. Her house ain't clean. But outside of that, she a good woman. You'd be like, what? What you mean? Like, like, come on now. And so that's what's going on here. That's what's going on here. Within league circles, they don't believe that he's a top end prospect. Excuse me. They don't believe that. What's popular on social media and on sports television is different from the perception within the league. Now, obviously, we're all wishing Shadeur Sanders the best, and here's the funny part: he's actually in a very good situation right now. He's in Cleveland. There's Deshaun Watson, who's always hurt and doesn't play well. And the only reason they have Deshaun there is because they owe him so much money. He's behind Joe Flacco, who's about 40 years old, who's a stopgap. He's going to compete against another rookie, Gabriel. And there's Kenny Pickett, who wasn't that good. So this might be the best scenario for Shadeur to be in. You go late round, so a lot of the expectations are gone. Nobody's expecting you to come in and start day one. You might be able to sit for the entire year, learn, hold the clipboard, and then come in next year with a whole year of learning under your belt and no expectations. So already rich. So this worked out. This worked out very well. This could work out very well for Shadeur Sanders because once again, Shadeur Sanders is not a victim. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna put this back up one more time. This is him after getting drafted. You see that big old chain? You see all that money? And I'm not hating on him. I'm not counting pockets. All I'm saying is this young man is doing very well. He's enjoying life. He's coming into the league already rich. He's coming to the league being rich his entire life. He is doing just fine. We don't got to talk about buck breaking and humbling the black man and you got a Negro reminder. We don't got to do any of that. This young man.
No, that's wrong.
My brother Shadeur told me he wanted a new piece, a chain that nobody had, and he wanted the legendary charm. So we designed something for him. Hopefully he's gonna like it. He hasn't seen it yet.
You need to look at it. Yeah. Oh my God.
This young man is living his best life, as he should. He's successful, and he is in the NFL. We don't gotta y'all. Sometimes y'all do too much. Relax, support the brother. If you want to get his Browns jersey, get his Browns jersey. If you want to watch the games, watch the games. Relax, pump the brakes. It is not that deep, y'all.